All right, welcome everybody to how to become a 10x PM without burning out. We're just going to give a few more minutes for people trickling in. If you haven't already, I would love to hear where you guys are geographically and also where you are emotionally. I was just sharing, I was just sharing with the group that was here early. There's some anxiety, some dread, some sadness, even coming back into, even alongside all the excitement of things opening up again. It was, as an emotionally aware person, I feel like I don't know, I have a pretty deep understanding of my emotions, but this was a weird one. I was caught off guard by the sadness that I'm experiencing coming back. So please feel free if you're not feeling like going deep quite yet, we'll get there. Just put where you're coming from. I'm in Brooklyn, where it is 1,000 degrees. Would love to hear you guys in the chat. We will be using the chat a lot, so go ahead and just open it up. This is going to be a super interactive session. I don't really like talking at people, so get on board. And we'll give people like 2 minutes past the hour to before we dive fully in. Got a lot of content here today. This is a session that I've done a bunch of times. It's one of my favorite sort of bodies of work to teach, but I actually added a bunch of stuff to it, or tweaked it based on what I've been hearing from people as their biggest concerns, their biggest issues right now. And actually, basically, spoilers, I'll just go for it. If you are feeling like you're feeling really unmoored, like your goals or ambition or whatever is not quite anchored in a powerful vision for your life, then you are in incredibly good company. I talk to hundreds and hundreds of people, professional women in particular, and this has basically exhaustion is no longer the single biggest thing, though I think we're all still probably exhausted. Now it's really feeling visionless. That has become the most common complaint among people. It really does change seasonally, and it's kind of my job to keep up with it. so I actually tweaked the presentation a little bit today to, I don't know, get curious about how vision and our vision for a career fits into our goals and our trajectory and our plan of logistics for our career. So we'll get into that. We will go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining today. I am absolutely thrilled to get to know all of you. And please do open the chat. This is going to be a thing where I would love to get to know each other while we're doing this. And just to get started, actually, I want everyone to sit with their feet flat on the floor for a moment, really feeling that ground. We're going to get into our bodies for a second. This is something that I do with every workshop, and also in the community Fearless Femmes that I run. Our bodies, it turns out, schlep us from one aspect of our lives to the other, and we kind of ignore that a little bit. And so I want to just like relax through that belly, diaphragm, really letting air come all the way down into the belly as deep as you can. Just relaxing that diaphragm. And open up through the heart a little bit. Just feel energetically that opening. And you might want to loosen up your throat a little bit. This is something that helps me. It's pretty literal, right? But the idea that this tightness in our throat really can impede authentic communication. And obviously, I'm going to be here today communicating like crazy with all of you guys. So I should really make sure that's relaxed. And I want you to relax it too. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Some hot keynote action for you. All right, so welcome everybody to how to become a 10x PM without burning out. I am so happy you're all here. I hope you're feeling really grounded and supported, having just done that exercise, knowing that hundreds of people signed up for this workshop today, and that's not including the thousands that have signed up for it on another date. And I want everyone to just really drop into how much support you actually have. Like, imagine all of those people who share these concerns, these goals, these anxieties, these obstacles and challenges, and like, just imagine them sitting in a circle around us And if you're watching the recording, you're here too. We're totally calling you in. This is a really important moment to remind ourselves how not alone we are in this experience. Not to say our experience isn't totally unique and special, but the feeling of aloneness is one of the most, I think, harmful myths that we have in our culture. And I really just want to, design that away a little bit by virtue of looking at the numbers, right? So welcome to Become a 10X Without Burning Out. We're going to go really fast today. So I'm going to start with the agenda here. Oops, and I need to allow a few more people in. There we go. So our agenda for today, we are going to absolutely burn through intro and promises. We'll go through really fast. We'll talk about why we're adopting a new productivity system, one that maybe it doesn't look like a to-do list that's just an infinite length, right? We're going to talk about what I lovingly call the 4 horsemen of burnout, and then we'll get into the actual step-by-step process of how to throw away your to-do list and what to do instead. So you will leave today with an actual plan and step-by-step guide that all the best leaders use, all the most successful leaders use to manage their time effectively without burning out, to really juice their advancement. So let me make sure that everyone's admitted here, looking good. We'll then go into the science of why we take on too much in the first place. And with any time I have left, I will try to maximize that. I'll do open coaching. If anyone wants to step into the love seat, I welcome you. I'm here to support you. If you want to learn more about this, by the way, my website's beccacamp.com. I have a blog, a newsletter that you can all find there. I give away pretty much all of my best secrets for free. So please take advantage of that. I'd love to stay in touch. All right, so hi, who am I? Let's get started there, shall we? My name is Becca Camp. I am a founder of a community called Fearless Femmes. I also a former product leader myself, so I bring the deep domain expertise of coaching or of product into my coaching and into my community leadership. Specifically, I help women in tech and product get promoted to leadership roles without burning out. And from that position of increased influence, authenticity, values alignment, we are here to change work culture for the better. It is work culture that is perpetuating the cycles of burnout for us. And if we don't do something about it, we're complicit, right? And so we're here to use our increasing influence, use this advancement, the promotions, the raises to get a seat at the table and ultimately expand that table for each other. So yes, we are here to change the world by getting women promoted to leadership. I am dead serious about it. The community itself is almost 100 people now. It's growing really fast. And it's been an absolute honor to be people's guide through this process. So a couple promises for you today. I will not be asking any rhetorical questions. If I ask it, it means I want you to answer in the chat. So please do that. It will make the session way more fun. I don't like talking at people, and I'll like respond to you straight up. And so we can make sure that this is the most relevant session possible for you. I do have an authentic style. There might be some tough love today, little sugar, little spice. That's kind of my way. I also swear moderately. So just consider yourself warned. It's just kind of part of my brand. I don't think about it that much. It just happens. So maybe put headphones on if you got kids around. And I promise you that I will give you all the help I can in an hour. But if you do stay to the end, you'll learn how to get more if you want it. I'll tell you all about Fearless Femmes, how to join, what we're about, the things we help people achieve. But also you don't have to sign up to get value from this session. I am here to be of service, and you will get a ton if you stay to the end. So quick, overview of what we call the Fearless Femmes method at a high level. This is what we work through step by step over the 6 months that women join the community and work the program together. We start with our vision, which is our aspiration, what you intend to accomplish. We then go to the mission. For me, that mission is, as I just mentioned, getting women promoted to leadership roles so that we can change the world from that increased influence. Very specific about what I'm doing for whom, so that we can achieve my vision of a world of equality and equity, right? Our goals are very specifically what we define as success. For most women in Fearless Femmes, this is a promotion, a raise, increased confidence, getting over their imposter syndrome once and for all. Big, important goals, both tangible and intangible. We then get into strategy, right? The actual ways to accomplish those things. Break those strategies down into tactics, one project at a time, one task at a time, so that we can then measure our success over the course of the 6 months. And so today, we're going to be honing in on the tactics. This sort of assumes to some degree that you guys have done some reflection on your vision. That is, by the way, one of the most common things I hear is people feeling disconnected from these days is this vision. I am going to do another workshop so that we do a deep dive on that, just like we're doing a deep dive on tactics today. But I do want you guys to really come away from this with a really clear technique that will allow you to actually execute on your goals, which then allows you to, accomplish your vision, which is a step towards your mission, which is a step towards your vision, right? The actual execution is really important. And if we don't do it in a sustainable way, then our vision and mission is never going to happen, right? So we will hopefully have a chance to meet again and talk more deeply about your vision. We do have a process for that in Fearless Femmes as well. And of course, if we could never let our product goals languish without a vision, why would we let our life goals languish without a vision, right? It doesn't make sense. So today, though, we will talk about the 6-step technique that we use in Fearless Femmes to reclaim your productivity and do more 10x strategic work rather than being lost in the weeds, right? This is, of course, actually the only way to hit your goals for advancement. Some common goals that we accomplish in Fearless Femmes, just to name a couple that happened in the last couple of weeks. Elizabeth got 2 promotions over 6 months, actually, a 70K raise, and became a people manager. She actually also created her own group program to help teachers and people and educators transition into tech. Huge accomplishments. Shannon made the leap finally to green tech and sustainability with a 30K raise, and Quinley interrupted her lifelong pattern of burnout using the techniques we're going to talk about today and transitioned companies to one with more upward mobility with an 80K raise. These are results that we get all the time. This is like not a special particular set of results. They were just some of the most recent ones. We take these goals very seriously, and we'll talk about how to break these down into smaller pieces so that you can accomplish the same thing that these women have. Now, I want to get chatty with you guys for a second, because look, Quinley, Shannon, Elizabeth, all the women in Fearless Femmes, they know how to break a problem down into steps, right? So do you. It turns out that knowing how to do that is not actually the obstacle. The obstacle is a lot scarier. And this image hopefully terrifies you as much as it does me. There's actually 4 main obstacles that tend to get in the way of actually just making these goals happen. Again, it's just logistics between here and there, right? Doing it alone, not setting boundaries, high interrupt, and self-doubt. And when all of these things form into a confluence or you grind with them for long enough, burnout is inevitable. So I want to just get a little bit of a heat check from you guys right now. We'll do the red, yellow, green method. Okay, so let's see, I'll open up the chat here. Make sure that I'm seeing what you're saying. Awesome. So I want to do the red, yellow, green stoplight method here. Red light is if you are really concerned about this. It's a huge area that needs your attention. You're really feeling the burn of this issue. Green light is like, nah, you're good. Don't need to change anything. You're solid, like, cruising. Yellow, obviously somewhere in the middle. So how many of you feel like you are on this journey of career success or advancement totally alone? Red is like, yeah, I feel totally alone. I'm uniquely fucked in all my problems. Green is like, nope, I've got the community around me I need. They're mirroring back to me, how they see my success. And yellow is kind of, some good days, some bad days, right? So got a lot of yellows, a lot of reds. Man, COVID really did a number on us for this one, didn't it? Like if there was one, it was this sense of isolation was really designed into our last year. But if I'm honest, wasn't it all, maybe it wasn't that bad, but this is not a COVID thing. This sense of isolation, feeling like you are alone in what you're navigating, feeling like you can't ask for help, feeling like you have to figure it out all on your own, and that the feelings that you're having are totally weird and freakish is a really big problem. It's a huge emotional weight, right? So got a lot of yellows and reds here, so we'll talk about that. How many of you feel like you are an ace at setting boundaries? Saying no is no problem. You've got your priorities super clear, and effortlessly you can make your calendar reflect your strategy for your life, right? Red is you really struggle with this. Green is like, nah, I've got boundaries left and right. I'm establishing trust. I'm being vulnerable and powerful in my boundary setting. So red, orange, yellow, got a couple green, I've got one green, Colleen, awesome. I wanna hear your secrets because this is something that a lot of fearless femmes really struggle with. Well, we will go deep on this today. So I hope you guys stick around and really like make this journey with me. A lot of what this technique we're gonna be teaching addresses this very specifically, along, by the way, interrupt. How many of you feel like you're able to get 2 hours of solid work done uninterrupted a couple times a day? Because it turns out it takes about 2 hours to really get deep into something. And if we don't have it on our calendar, suddenly that's where that hamster wheel starts rolling and spinning, and suddenly we can work our ass off all day and still feel like we haven't done anything, right? You can see how that would lead it's an absolute shortcut to burnout, right? So yeah, around midnight, you get those 2 hours, especially for you moms, like you are absolute heroes in my eyes. There's nothing more logistically challenging than what you're doing, but this method does apply to you too. So we will use it. And how about our last one? How are we? Red, yellow, green. Self-doubt. How confident are you guys feeling these days? Are you like, new thing. I know how to do new things. I've figured out stuff before. Hard things too, actually. That's green. And if you really worry about your ability or what it will mean if you fail, or your capacity, your aptitude, your whether or not you believe in yourself to figure something out. So yellows, greens, awesome. It sounds like our self-doubt is actually, this is better ratings than I've seen in past workshops. So again, obviously most of us have ups and downs on this. It's never just like totally smooth sailing on self-doubt. That's how we know we're growing, right? But I'm glad to hear that you guys are feeling a little bit more grounded in this. Obviously, the first 3 seem to be for this group, the biggest ones. And so we will talk specifically about the boundaries and interrupt today. And then obviously I'll tell you all about how fearless femmes bust the myth that we are alone. And I hope we do that today just by virtue of being here together. Okay, so cool. Why are you here? Enter into the chat. Like, why are you like, wow, I really want to change something about what I'm doing right now. I want to go spend an hour of my time with Becca to learn a new technique and maybe even implement it and like take it seriously. Why bother changing the way you're doing things right now? This is my awkward silence water bottle. I'll wait for you to reply. You want to up the game. I love it. Get out of the weeds, be more strategic. This is one of the most common like metaphors that I hear is in the weeds and hamster wheel. That's a big one for femmes. Not happy, that's reason enough to change something, right? More power to you. Working to restore confidence that's gone right now, right? Last time you grew in your career, you didn't set boundaries. That's a mistake many of us make over and over and over again until we really, decide to bust the definition of insanity. Figuring out how to go on vacation as a solopreneur. I'm with you. I've got tips. I'm a solopreneur myself. Imbalance. Stop getting, the urgency myth, right? Of course, we know logically that things that are urgent are really important, things that are important are rarely urgent, and yet here we are being in constant reactivity mode. So more on that in just a minute. So, all right, whiteboard time. I'm gonna stop my screen share and spotlight my handy dandy whiteboard. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 mountains of your career, okay? Mountain number 1 is the novice mountain. Mountain number 2, you'll see it's a significantly bigger mountain, is the strategist mountain. This is sort of more mid-career, as you become more strategic and arrive at the strategist peak. After you've peaked there, you're on to the executive mountain. These are not job titles, by the way, so don't take it that way. I really want you guys seeing this as sort of as phases of your career. So for fearless femmes, we really focus on the strategist and executive mountains. Basically, the novice mountains is an absolutely critical mountain. Obviously, we all have to climb it, but it's a little bit more about fundamentals. And that's something that we don't actually talk about that much in fearless femmes. Basically, the mountain here, like the task, if you will, the haul, is really about getting experience. That's it. Right? And so you'll know you've peaked at the novice mountain when saying yes is easy. You're like, yeah, okay, try new things. It's about breadth rather than depth at this stage in your career, right? And things like to-do lists are really good tools for this. right? You're just organizing your stuff, doing one thing at a time, really focusing on just, again, getting those reps in early in your career to establish a pattern library so that later on you can kind of be like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. I know roughly what to do, right? So that's our novice mountain. Strategist mountain, on the other hand, is a much bigger haul here, right? You'll know you've reached the strategist tier when saying no is easy. Uh-oh, that's a harder one, isn't it? So the goal here is really to 10x yourself, right? This is what we're really here to talk about, is like becoming a 10x PM, right? So how do we do that? Like, what does that actually mean in practice? It turns out it is ruthless prioritization. That is your number one tool. I'll throw in community, because obviously doing things alone is a total buzzkill and can really mess with our head. I also recommend coaching. I recommend coaching at every phase. It's never too early. I always wish I'd done it sooner, right? Hopefully you guys resonate with that. But really, this strategist peak is all about your ability to say no and ruthlessly prioritize, right? And ruthlessly prioritize by virtue of saying no. Strategy is easy, right? If your goal, kind of going back to that pyramid we looked at, if your goal is to make $20 million, right, at the company, or get promoted, if it's a personal goal, really, it's the strategy is just do the thing that makes the most money. So cool. Good strategy means doing the thing that gets you $10 million with one person rather than $5 million with 5 people, right? I mean, good strategy is incredibly simple, and yet it's so hard. And I want you to tell me why. Sorry about my noisemakers there, guys. Let me see if I can find that quick. I want you to tell me why it's hard for you to say no. What makes it so scary? What makes it hard? When you imagine, oh, hey, do this, right? Oh, hey, this is so important. Straight from the CEO, do it right now. What do? What happens? Yeah, people pleasing, burning bridges, people pleasing, bridges, right? Feeling like saying no is going to burn a bridge. Oh yeah, every yes feels like an opportunity and every no feels like a closing door, even though, again, logically, you know that can't be true, right? If you burn yourself out, then you're not going to advance. That's like the one thing we can't let you do. We have to say no. It's an absolute critical piece of the puzzle, right? Consequences, and I agree. There are, Shuai mentioned being Asian. It is 100% the case that women, people of color, and then all the intersections, women of color, and so on and so on, do experience more consequences. That is, you're not imagining it. It is 1000% true. And yet these obstacles, we still have to come together. This is, by the way, my whole mission is to change work culture and change this type of oppressive, these systems of oppression in our work culture. But burnout is one of the systems of oppression in our work culture, right? That's why Fearless Femmes is doing what they're doing. We're going to get to that level. Say no. And again, there will be consequences we have to manage, but we will get there with the right support and the right guidance, and we will change that bullshit, right? That's the only way to do it. So yep, shit rolls downhill, feel you there. So people pleasing, burning bridges, a fear of what's going to happen. Guys, the only reason that saying no is hard is because of this. Fear, right? Whereas on this peak, really, it's just about time, right? With enough time, you'll get the experience you need. It's kind of like there's not much to do there other than just stick with it, right? But when we're doing this mountain, overcoming our fear is what makes this so steep, right? So what do we do about this? By the way, and of course, in Fearless Femmes, we also work on this bit. Delegating is easy when you've reached the executive peak, which again causes us to approach some things, some aspects of fear around control and empowering others and interpersonal relationships, like really high level stuff. We work on that too, but we can't get there until we've conquered some of our own internal fears. This mountain has to come first. So let's see. I want to show you just how common this is. all the reasons that you guys just cited for why you don't say no. is well documented in Brene Brown's research on boundaries and vulnerability as a way, as boundaries being a vulnerable act. And her quote about this, the number one reason people cited for why they don't set boundaries is because I don't want to make people mad, disappoint others, or make them stop liking me. Reason number two, almost the same thing. I don't know how to set boundaries without sounding selfish or unlikable. Guys, there is no reason we don't set boundaries except for these two things. That is what we're allowing to drive us to burnout, is this fear, these beliefs that I think you actually don't even believe, really, right? So what's our next step here? This is big, deep stuff. It's really important. So here's the reality, though, that I have to drive home, and this is where love gets a little tough here, right? Everything you do is an investment. Every time you say yes to something you should say no to is an investment that's going to get you a 1x return at best. If you're on the path to burnout, it's going to have a negative ROI, right? Every single thing you do, every dollar you spend, every minute you spend, including on rest, including on self-care, including on nourishment and filling your cup, is an investment that has a return. What is that return? If you're going to be a strategist, if we're going to peak that mountain, you have to be thinking this way. Right? And here we are instead just basically declaring bankruptcy over our time, right? So being 10x as a product leader and as a person with goals requires investments that gets you a 10x return. And what got you up that novice mountain is not going to get you up the strategist mountain and beyond, right? So we've got to get a new tool. This is what we're here to do. Here is the principle of what I'm about to share with you. So literally this like 6 steps, get your notes out. we're just gonna write it down because this is, I'm giving away all my secrets today. Here's the basic principle we're operating with. The more you plan, the less busy you will be, right? If you have a goal and you break it down into actionable steps and put it on your calendar, then you've got nothing else. You've decided it's the most important thing you could be doing. Nothing else is going to be able to edge in. So we'll talk about that in a second. That's the core principle we're operating with. And as to quote Brene again, busyness is the world's most socially acceptable opiate. We love talking about how busy we are, even though we know that it's a system of oppression, right? It's a sickness we have, right? This pride about busyness. Oops, let me just make sure I've got everyone admitted here. Cool. So here we go. This is the tough love that I mentioned earlier, okay? A little bit of spice for you. Busy is just sloppy time management. Sorry, not sorry. It's true. When you're allowing everything to come into your field and you're in constant reactivity mode, it is the opposite of being strategic, right? Being strategic means you sat down and analyzed what the most important thing you could be doing is, and then you just say no to everything else, because anything else is going to be a distraction. It's going to drain your energy. You'll get a lot less done over the axis of time if you are in constant reactivity mode. And this really gives away your agency, right? It's a sense of what we call in stress science, learned helplessness. We give away our agency by saying yes to everything. When the truth is, you get to accomplish your goals on whatever time frame you choose. You can choose to burn yourself out trying to do it in 10 minutes, or you can give yourself a year and have a nice time, right? The thing is, the burnout path, you'll tend to just kick the timeline down the road anyway, right? Again, I'm telling you guys things you already know. Let's be real. The amount of energy we spend being burned out, tired, stressed, context switching, blah, 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 astronomical. And yet we add it to our personas like a badge of honor. This is really sloppy emotional fitness, guys. We got to train up if we're going to climb this mountain. Okay. So a couple prerequisites just to kind of go back to, before I share the technique, just to go back to that pyramid we looked at top. With Fearless Femmes, we actually go into training up your emotional fitness. What's going on there that's causing you, that's causing that fear? Like what's encoded in your nervous system and your body that's causing you to have that kind of reaction rather than something that's in your self-interest? We have to train that up. We go through that systematically in Fearless Femmes using all like the best modern neuroscience and body somatic science. We also address your self-sabotage along the way. So if you know what you need to do and you don't do it, you're not going to accomplish your goals either. We also have to have that powerful vision statement for yourself. Like I mentioned, that is going to be a future workshop. So please stay in touch. This is something that is really, really present for a lot of people right now, because when we have that vision, setting goals is easy. It's just something that the goal is just a measurable thing that represents progress towards your vision. You get to pick what it is and when it happens, right? So get a promotion is obviously one of the most common ones we do in Fearless Femmes. That might be yours right now. Here's the technique. Are we ready? All right. Are you with me, by the way? So give me like a hell yeah, thumbs up, whatever in the chat. If you're still with me, we've covered a lot. Where'd my chat go? There we go. We're here. Awesome. All right. So here is a technique. Number one, here's what you're going to do. Sit down. You're sitting, you're already partway there. At the beginning of every month, and identify your most important goal for the next 30 days. What is the most important goal for you? 30 days. Again, pretty manageable. It could be shipping a project. It could be having a difficult conversation with your manager. It could be, again, like 30-day things that are reasonable to accomplish in that time frame, right? Identify what the most important thing is. It could be getting designs approved. It could be doing your quarterly road mapping, right? Stuff that happens at the beginning of the month. We sit down, we say, cool, this is my 30-day goal, right? The most important thing. You decide that it's the most important. Again, because all strategy is saying, yes, this is going to get me farther towards my goal, ultimately of getting a promotion or advancing or whatever, than anything else I could be doing, right? That's what most important means. You know this, just driving it home. Number two, make a list of every single thing that has to happen logistically for that goal to be accomplished. So again, if you're road mapping, you could write down, number one, sit down at my computer. Number two, open my road mapping software or Jira. Number three, you get what I'm saying, right? This is something where if we can break down these goals, even ones that feel a little bit big, a little bit overwhelming, it's just because we haven't broken them down into smaller pieces yet. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that is your cue that it's time to break it down into smaller parts. Like stop being overwhelmed. Make it as some days when I'm feeling really low, I make my goal to look at my laptop. And you know what, if that's all I do, I consider it a success. Now, of course, as you would expect, more often than not, once I look at my laptop, like opening it suddenly seems a lot more manageable. So you see where I'm going with this, right? So that's number two. Ask yourself, what else? What else? What else? I really want you to be comprehensive here, because this process will not work if you are glossing over things or if you are, not being thorough. Again, being busy and having all these unknowns, things that like break late in the game, things you didn't bother to think through early on. It's just sloppy planning and it will suck. Okay. So ask yourself, what else, what else, what else? Ask what conditions must be true for these logistics to happen, right? Like if you're planning a wedding and you're breaking down the logistics of the wedding and it's the pandemic, like, okay, well, we're gonna have to wait for the pandemic to lift before we actually schedule this. So know what you're working with, right? And understand what's within your control and out of your control. And then to the best of your ability, help those conditions come true. Ask yourself, and this is key. I want you all, look me in the face right now. Everyone look at me in the eyes. Ask yourself, what self-care must I commit to keep my shit together along the way? If you do not start by buffering your calendar with your breath work, your meditation, your exercise, your time with family, your decompression, your unscheduled time, if that shit's not on your calendar, work will expand to fill all available time. We know this. You are responsible for putting those buffers in place. If you don't, you will burn out and it is not strategic for you, right? Do not tell me that rest is not strategic. It's the most strategic thing we do. So here's the basic idea, right? You write for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, and really kind of embodying through this process the truth that every goal is just a sequence of logistics. It turns out any old schmuck off the street could do it if you just followed your instructions, right? You don't even have to be special. We put so much pressure on ourselves to think that we deserve a goal or have to have some sort of magical quality to get a promotion. Turns out we just have to follow through, okay? So I really want you guys simplifying. There's so many emotions and so much ambiguity in this world. Let this be easy. Let this be clear and straightforward. Do the work up front. Make it clear for you. Take away the mystery behind your goals, right? There's no mystery to them at all. So here's what this looks like in practice. This is a real fearless femme named Lucy, who was kind enough to share this with me. She broke it down into quarters. I just outlined a 30-day thing. She wanted to do quarters. She made it work for her, right? So again, this is something that you can play with and really adapt to your style of planning. But with Lucy, she did it quarter by quarter. So you see a goal, right? Establish growth and development plans and conversation cadence with direct reports. Measurable, concrete, specific, actionable. There's a moment where it will be true. It will have happened, right? So she backwards engineered the activities one at a time. Like, so cool, if success looks like all of us are aligned on what the team is working towards over the next year and they make active progress towards their goals, what had to be true right before that was the case? And then what had to be true right before that? And you'll see these 7 steps that she came up with, just breaking it down, right? Nothing mysterious about it. She did the work up front. Hire and onboard a new PM, same thing. Write the job description, post the job description. Like, so simple, so straightforward, right? Really lean on just how much clarity we have here. All right, any questions about this? We're breaking things down, making lists, checking it twice. By the way, what does this process look like to you? Product leaders in the crowd? What does this process look like? Real question. Oh, that looks like work plan. It's road mapping. All of this is just taking a big goal, just like you do every day for your job, and breaking it down into tasks and putting it into Jira, and then having that backlog, deciding what's going to be the most important thing, and then guarding your team's time for those priorities. That's a huge part of your job. Or if you're a director, manager level, you do that for the PMs who are reporting to you, right? You cannot let them get randomized. This is no different. You guys know how to do this. Why aren't you doing it? So we'll get to that in a second. There's a reason why you're not doing it, and it's not your fault. But part 2, before we get there, each of these tasks, write the job description, post the job description. Each of these discrete tasks, put them on your calendar. Look at me again, look me in the eyes. If it's not on your calendar, it won't get done. And what you've just told me is this is the most important thing you could be doing in the next 30 days, and it's not on your calendar. No wonder your calendar just looks like a disaster, wall-to-wall meetings that are like of ambiguous importance at best, right? If it's not on your calendar, you're not gonna be able to guard your time. If it's not on the roadmap, it's not gonna, it won't happen. Right? Other people will try to stick stuff on your roadmap because they'll think it's available when it's not, right? So again, this is the key aspect of this that is going to be part 2 of your planning, of you really taking this process seriously. For each task, just like we story point, guess how long it'll take? Don't waste time on this. If it's small, estimate an hour. If it's big, estimate a week or a day or whatever feels right to you, right? Just have it on the calendar. That's the most important thing. And then all you have to do is just wake up every morning and get that shit done. And you will be able to know for sure that you've done everything in your power to make progress towards the goals that day. You will be able to feel the success of that goal being accomplished now. Any questions about this, by the way? Here's an example of how I've literally done this. This is an actual screenshot of my calendar. I've got a version of this for PMs too from some of my clients and community members' calendars. Look, there's a nurture sequence that I'm going to be sending you guys after this. If you stay subscribed to my emails, which I highly recommend you do, they're really good. Complete the nurture sequence. It was going to happen on that Friday. I backwards engineered it. I know I like to have deep focus to really totally finish things out. So I booked 3 hours there. I booked an hour for nurtures 1 through 4 on Wednesday, and then another hour on Tuesday, and that first hour on Tuesday morning. Because I estimated that's about how long it would take me. I scheduled around my group sessions and my existing sessions, and all I did was just do the thing my calendar told me to do, right? Thank you, I know I love the color blocking too. I thought you guys would like that. So again, you'll notice I've got these buffers of exercise from 3 to 4. You know what? I don't work after 4 p.m. because I'm a mess. Like, I've lost my mojo by 4 p.m. I'm a morning person. I've designed my life to work around that, right? All of us have seasons, all of us have peaks of energy. It is part of the system of oppression of burnout and burnout culture to expect us to have this steady grind that's consistent 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. that expectation, that standard is incredibly harmful. So honor your seasons, honor your cycles, right? So Z mentions, this is a great question. I color block and put things in my calendar and then don't give it the time due to other crunches of things you're working on. So this is where the no becomes the absolutely critical thing, the absolutely critical tool, right? This is why the ruthless prioritization is the tool that will get you up this mountain, right? It sounds like you're getting there, you've got the clarity, you're doing the planning, but then you're actually not following through, you're not honoring your goal. Right? And actually you're not honoring the broader strategy because again, we know what the cost is of burnout. It costs you your goals. It actually does cause, this is part 2 of Brene Brown's research on this. We are so afraid that people are going to not like us or be mad at us or whatever, face violence, right? Which again, sometimes is a risk. It's true. But what happens when we fail to say no, we fail to set boundaries, is that we get almost instantly resentful and frustrated. Yeah, real likable, right? Like you imagine a really resentful, frustrated person. It also erodes trust. This is why great leaders dare to set boundaries and follow through even when it's hard. And it's not your team's responsibility to make you feel better about it. This is on you. So again, this is why we work through this step by step in Fearless Femmes. That vision has got to get us through the difficulty of saying no. We've got to reprogram a bit some of our internal wiring around being liked and fearful versus powerful and with agency, right? So there is I wish I could get into all of that today, but again, I'm giving you as much as I can in an hour. If you want more help on this, this is what we do in Fearless Femmes, and I will tell you how to get that help in just a sec. So the collaborative no is what we use in Fearless Femmes. It's sort of the line that I want everyone to kind of copy paste right now. The collaborative no is this no that almost like, it creates what I think is actually most true for everybody, which is that this is a collaborative endeavor where you're both on the same side. Both of you want the company to succeed in its goals. If you were to be randomized or go react or like run to the thing that's, the fire that needs, quote unquote, needs putting out, instead of doing the thing that's most important and most strategic, then everyone loses, right? And so what we say is, thank you for this idea, great idea, interesting. Here are the priorities we've already agreed to. Which one should I swap out? And I guarantee you guys, 99% of the time, they will say, oh, actually, never mind, stay the course. We'll put this on the roadmap later, right? The collaborative, no. Isn't this way more values aligned for you guys? Seriously, real question, yes or no? Doesn't that feel like your value of connection and collaboration more than hiding or rushing to say, all those ingrained responses, I feel like are actually out of alignment for most of us, right? People who value kindness and thoughtfulness and support and success and excellence, right? So again, when we map to our values, suddenly this gets a lot easier. When we're operating in alignment with our values and towards a North Star that really matters to us, all this stuff gets a lot easier to just do. Evelyn, yeah, the recording will be sent out. I can't send out the slide deck, unfortunately, but I definitely will send the recording. So, but yeah, feel free to jot this down. This is all yours. I do, by the way, I will put this here. If you guys love this, I just typed in the URL for my blog. I give away all of my best shit for free on the blog. A lot of it is also repurposed from my newsletter. If you go to beccacamp.com, you'll see the ability to sign up for my newsletter really quickly. Definitely recommend you do it, honestly. Like, there's just no reason not to get in on my free tier of stuff. And if upgrading to Fearless Femmes is aligned for you, then we can talk about it. But I really want all of us taking every advantage we've got to change work culture. We have to change this. Where is it headed, guys? It's grim. So just another thing, just another hot tip for making this work for you that a lot of people have found successful. Devote 30 minutes a week to sit down and refine that week's tasks, right? So if we're looking at this calendar, I would sit down on Monday morning and be like, okay, this nurture sequence, is that actually still what I need to do? Or did something change that last week that I need to update, right? So again, make this work for you. This is not a big planning endeavor where everything's set in stone. This is an organic human process, but one that has incredibly clear boundaries. No one can schedule over this stuff, right? That is the hard no. Let your calendar do some of the heavy lifting for you. Let it say no if you struggle with it. So collaborative no. Here's the thing, guys, again, just really driving home the point here. You get to decide what you accomplish and on what time frame. You get to decide if you want this promotion 6 months from now, or if actually you want to just give yourself a little space to grieve what we just went through and spend time with your family, and you're going to do it 6 months later. What do you need? Our culture deprives us of the choice of asking ourselves what we need. And really, guys, I know you're ruthless. I know that there's a part of you that's angry and focused and passionate, right? This is the part of you that's going to be stepping up in these moments where you're using these tools. So again, work smart instead of hard. Isn't this the most obvious thing in the world now that I say it out loud? I love this. I love this presentation for this reason. Work smart instead of hard. What are we working so hard for when it burns us out and doesn't get us as far? Like, if we want to work smart, that's how we 10x. That's strategy. All strategy is working smart instead of hard. So if you want to get out of the weeds and become a strategist, work smart, say no, ruthlessly prioritize, use this technique. All right. So here's the part that I wanted to make sure we got to. Why is it so hard to do this when everything I said is so obvious? This fear was not something you were born with. The fear that creates this mountain, that makes it so scary, that causes us to get lost in these cycles of, oh, they're not gonna like me, or really, on some level, fear violence of some kind, fear repercussions, right? Again, this is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to overcome these obstacles because your goals are worth it. I will take a stand for that, right? So it helps to understand in the science of stress what's called human giver syndrome. Human giver syndrome is the belief that you have a moral obligation to give every drop of your time, energy, and frankly, your body in support of others, no matter the cost to you. Who here resonates with this? Just say me, or raise your hand if this sounds familiar to you. Yeah. This is one of the most common, this is literally what we're conditioned and socialized to believe, especially as women, especially as people of color, having to do the emotional labor to explain racism to white people, right? All of this is something that is a deep programming, and the truth of it is that we have a tremendous amount of shame asking for what we want. That's really what saying no is saying, no, I want to work on this because that is what's most important, right? Lisa, I'm so glad you're getting away from it. It is a lifelong effort. It is no joke. This type of wiring goes so deep. It was, we saw it coming up in our family dynamics. We see it every day in our culture. Every day that we operate in this, in burnout culture, we get handed another brick to put in the backpack that we're trying to schlep up this mountain. Right? It is no joke. It's a real thing. It's a physiological phenomenon. And actually the cost of it is called compassion fatigue. So you might notice some of these symptoms. Check out emotionally. You'll minimize suffering that's not the most extreme. Like, oh, well, there was an earthquake somewhere and, I should be grateful, right? Feeling helpless, hopeless, powerless, while also feeling responsible for doing more somehow. Staying in a bad situation because if I don't do it, no one will. That's something that mothers in particular are socialized in the US to take on. Audre Lorde has this great quote that I really love. Caring for ourselves is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. If we're going to change the work culture that is such a driving force of inequity and inequality and oppression and bias, we have to start by unloading some of the ways that those systems are showing up in our own behavior, right? Again, not our fault, but still our responsibility. So this is why coming together in community to do this is so important. This is an insurmountable mountain to climb on our own. It is not a thing that people do alone, right? So that's why you're here. I'm hoping that this session was really, really valuable in that. And again, if you want to do this in community, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we do this in Fearless Femmes. So again, doing it alone, self-sabotage, interrupt, unclear goals. I actually changed this one from unclear goals to self-doubt earlier and forgot to change this slide, but all of them are actually horsemen of burnout. This is the current culture of work and somebody has to change it. The costs are just too high. And it's completely misaligned from what we know to be true, what we value in the world, compassionate leadership, actually leadership that gets us better results in the long run. Because again, nothing is less strategic than burnout. I really want you to hear me on this, guys. And this technique that you use every day in your jobs is what's going to get you through the other side. Now, I promised at the beginning that if you stuck around to the end, I would tell you how to get more help if you wanted it. So hopefully this was super, super helpful. I blew through as much as I could in an hour. So I really hope you took notes, and I will send out the recording. But if you want to go deeper on this, if the idea of saying no, or even using the collaborative no, is like, it just feels almost inconceivable, like even where to begin feels really overwhelming to you, or you feel like you're stuck so deep, or you actually just want to, like, you're feeling pretty good on an even keel energetically, but you really want to be throwing the kitchen sink at your goals, right? Everything you do is 10x. That's what Fearless Femmes holds us accountable for. Right? And we start at the root cause of what all of this, all the reasons why we fail to 10x ourselves and be maximally strategic, which is deeply about cultural and social context, as well as our physiological somatic context. So it's completely different than pretty much any other program out there for women in product. And then critically, we use that influence to change work culture. You will go up there, at this most senior level that you get to in your career, completely unfuckwithable. And that's my goal for you. That's our goal for our society, our world. We need you out here. We need you not burned out. All right. So if you want to decide to become a Fearless Femme, actually say invite me in the chat. This is, again, no pressure. Like, this is not like you're not on the hook for anything, but if you want an invite that like outlines exactly what the program says, exactly what the program logistics are, the cost, what results we really get for people. I specialize in raises, promotions. Actually, I've got this handy dandy chart of the results I get. The tangible results, like raises and promotions, we get 30 to 50K raises like every day. It's incredibly simple, using a somewhat different negotiation technique that is, you guessed it, way more feminine and way more values aligned and way less weird than what we're kind of taught to negotiations have to be like. But also, all of that would be empty without all of these intangible results as well, right? If you are not moving through the world with more confidence, managed stress, better relationships, successful job search, imposter syndrome, we're done. Like, we got to be done with that stuff, guys. It is such a heavy weight to carry. And this mountain, we need every advantage we can get. Right. So yes, I got your invite me. It's awesome. I definitely, if you decide later that you want to do this, you know where to find me. At least sign up for the newsletter that I posted the link for here. And we'll chat one-on-one, just make sure that your goals and the obstacles and challenges you're facing on the way to those goals are what we solve for. If they're not, I'll refer you to somebody who is a specialist in these things. But if you guys liked what you picked up here, you're gonna like it. So, so I can't wait to chat with you. And I would love to have all of you. If you want to actually, if you're like sure you want to apply, here I will just put my my Calendly link directly here. Becca Camp /strategy session. You'll basically fill out in the Calendly link here. You'll fill out an application just to kind of give us the preface for your goals. But if you want to just go ahead and get on my calendar, let's do it. You said invite me, I'll reach out to you and we can chat a little bit more if you're not quite ready to chat for 45 minutes and really start planning for how you want to get involved. So that's it. I can't believe I made it through all of this new stuff within an hour. I'm so thrilled we have time left over. Does anyone have any questions? I would love to use the last 8 minutes to just I don't know, I'm an open book. I'm here to help. So anything about this material, anything that you are feeling like you're struggling with or want guidance on, just go ahead and pop it in the chat. You're welcome, Tamaya. Thank you for coming. Open coaching. Who wants the love seat? I'm here for you. Awesome. Thank you, Cal. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Flora. All right, we got a good question. And Z, I saw your hand raised too. I'll see if I can get to both. All right, how to approach a manager with confidence that you deserve the promotion. So, where to begin? There's a couple steps here that I think you probably already know, but I will outline them just to reinforce them. But then I'll get into sort of why we don't do it anyway, even though we know how to do it. So there's sort of two pieces here. Basically, to get a promotion, here's the thing, guys. When we negotiate, we sort of see glamorized this style of negotiating where, you know, some guy comes in and is like, give me your money, and like, I'm so badass and intimidating, and I don't know, like garbage, right? Like we see the intimidation tactics like being kind of the core and backbone of negotiation, and it's just garbage, it's bullshit. So really, your strategy here is going to be about anchoring in value, right? Because you're not here to take something from someone. Right? You're here to demonstrate and explain to your manager the value that you've created or want to create. And like, how awesome is that? Like, that's such an exciting thing. Again, anytime we notice ourselves as being an oppositional a narrative, right? Where this person is like an object standing in the way of you getting a promotion instead of your number one supporter in making it happen. That's where we got to just really shift our mindset. Right. So now, of course, this gets into, is this person actually a sponsor for you? Are they a shitty manager? There's a bunch of complications here. Again, this is kind of why, like, you'll read my blogs about this and it'll be awesome, but then there'll be a bunch of detail. This is why the Fearless Femmes community is growing so fast, even though I give away everything for free. So like the details matter and you do want support on this. But basically outlining exactly what you have accomplished in terms of concrete deliverables, right? There's no hand wavy intimidation stuff. This is like really concretely, here's what I delivered or here's what I will deliver. And ideally you create a plan with your manager where in no uncertain terms, you determine what the most important things are, just like using the same technique that we talked about today, that will get the company closest to their goals. Actually, if you are looking at, actually, I forgot I'm still sharing my screen, but that's actually handy. This graphic you're looking at, it's product strategy. Most companies don't have them. You will probably, unless you work at a really mature or like mature either in age or sophistication personally, you might have to create some of these goals on your own. But again, this is, you know, why having a lot of support really makes a big difference, because it's kind of this gaslighting crazy thing. The fact that companies don't have goals, how does anyone feel successful? The answer is they don't. They have imposter syndrome. So rant for a different day. But basically, if you can identify the 2 or 3 most important things that you can deliver in a quarter or a half that would warrant a promotion, have that conversation with your manager and be like, here's what I believe are going to be the most important things. Do you agree that this would warrant a promotion? And they'll say yes or no, but if you did this instead, that would warrant a promotion. That's how we ask. So as for how to arrive to that conversation confidently, now that's a whole other chestnut. We can have this clarity and our body can still be freaking out with stories of like, I'm not good enough, they're going to say no, and it's going to mean that I'm rejected and I'm not lovable and I'm going to, you know, be abandoned and die. Our bodies are like really simplistic creatures, and confidence comes from the inside, right? My confidence that you're seeing today comes from a deep belief that I'm just here to be of service. That's it. If I'm like even a tiny bit of service today, that is a wild success in my book. No pressure, right? Why wouldn't I be confident? I'm confident that I can be a little helpful to you today, right? And if I'm not, you know, that's an interesting learning experience for me. So my body is super on board with all of this. So that's something that, again, requires a lot of structured training. I have a whole curriculum for this within Fearless Femmes, but the cool thing about it is that we actually understand confidence pretty well, the mechanics, the physiology of confidence, and anyone can do it. Shortcuts involve meditation, breath work, embodiment practices like body scans, 5 minutes a day. 3 weeks from now, you'll be confident. That's what we teach in the Femmes. So let's see, I'll try to get to other, if I don't get to your question, by the way, I'll try to write a response or record a video response and I'll send it to the group. Okay, so Zia raised her hand next. Zia, do you want to just pop on the call? And by the way, we might go over, so no hard feelings if you need to go over.
Hi, I just wanted to quickly say that this was very helpful, and I'm not in the fields that you're talking about. I'm in social service with vulnerable clients, and this was still very, very helpful because our work has changed. Mm-hmm. We have so much technology, so much virtual work, even how we meet, you know, the vulnerable families and the people we're trying to serve. So I'm much better orally than typing because I've been taking notes like crazy. So thank you very much. And I really appreciate the time.
Of course. Thank you, Z. I so appreciate the words. And yeah, the funny thing about this, I am a product leader by specialty, but this stuff applies to everything. So we're all humans at the end of the day. And again, the human-centered approach is really just in the DNA of Fearless Femme. So I'm so glad that you found it helpful.
Thank you.
All right, let me see. I'll see if I can get to just an order. I'll just try to do one more question and eke this out. I'll try to respond to the other ones via email. So how do you build skills that are needed when the opportunity isn't available in the current role? How do you build skills that are needed when the opportunity, share a little bit more about what the opportunity is that you're talking about? Like the opportunity to build the skills, like the mentorship? Preeti, feel free to just like pop on the call if you want. Okay, well, if you want to message me, just in the interest of time, message me and we can go deeper on that. I have a few follow-up questions to get some clarity on what you're talking about. Dealing with difficult colleagues. That's another big area. Our interpersonal relationships follow us everywhere. So if there are, it's okay, Preeti, just message me. We can talk one-on-one. So interpersonal issues follow us everywhere. Our old patterns of behavior that we were raised with, old wounds that we're carrying that form the lens through which we view every interaction. It follows us around, right? So it depends on the difficulty. This is an annoying answer. It depends on the difficulty with the colleagues, but also asking what's your role in this dance, right? That's always going to be a key question rather than going to the place of blame. And again, this is not to say that everything's your fault. Certainly, obviously it's not. Again, it takes two to tango here, but more often than not, the reason why we have difficulties in whether it's our marriage or our partners or friends or coworkers, it's usually because we're bringing something to the equation that's out of alignment with what we actually believe about ourselves in the world. So that's how I would get curious about that. Obviously, each situation is different. And of course, if there's abuse or harassment going on, then it's a very different answer. Okay, let's see. I'll answer one more. Additional fallback phrases like the collaborative no, I do actually. It's in my blog post. So check. I'll see if I can hunt them down. But just peruse my blog. I've got a bunch of suggestions for how to get out of meetings in particular. All right. How do you combat becoming resentful of work projects when you feel micromanaged? This is so hard. This is being micromanaged. Most of us are going to have shitty bosses in our lives. We don't train people to become good managers. We don't train people to deal with their emotional baggage that they have around people doing things differently than they would do them. And that is the mountain of becoming from a strategist to an executive is all about delegating being easy. We have to confront these demons that keep us from empowering other people, right? So how do you avoid becoming resentful? I think that the core belief here, Sarah, has to be around your sense of agency. I feel like often what I find is that when the resentment, when we're really grappling with that resentment, it's because there's some belief about I'm trapped here. I have no power. There's nothing I can do about this. I'm going to be micromanaged for this person for the rest of my life, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's actually not true, right? Is it a pain in the ass? Yes. But do you have some agency about changing things? Also, yes. I would always recommend, developing relationships with your skip if possible. There's also ways to give that feedback to your manager. So again, tough stuff to do. It requires sort of a detailed action plan depending on the nature of the characters involved and other power dynamics that are really that are important. But at the end of the day, if you want to give it a fair shot, you have to do your part here and rising to the occasion, pushing yourself to set these boundaries and from a place of love. Give the feedback. And God, the resentment really eats away at love, doesn't it? so again, like regulating ourselves, how our body's feeling about that trapped feeling, how our body's feeling about the pressure and the criticism. We've got to get our body behind a different truth, which is that you're the creator of your destiny. You're the architect of your destiny. You can give this a fair shot. And if it's still too much of a pain in the ass, there's other great product jobs out there. Now, I hate giving that advice. Obviously, it's more complicated than, just quit your job. But again, like ultimately, that is the most empowering frame, I think. It's just that you're not stuck at all. But the resentment is normal. It's just something we have to move through to come back to ourselves, to a place of, values alignment, which is one of power, agency, compassion, connection, and good communication. I think because you're here, I just know you value those things. All right, guys. So I've got, I want to sort of respect everyone's time. I have some things I have to get to as well. So I am so happy to have known all of you. I have your invite me's. So I will reach out, I will DM you, and we'll sort of explore together and get something on the calendar. I'm so happy that all of you were so excited and eager and such wonderful participants in this. I am so happy to know you. And please stay in touch. Please sign up for my newsletter. Message me anytime. I'm here to hang out. So have a great rest of your week. And happy 4th of July. Enjoy that long weekend. Don't work. Take a break. You've earned it. Bye, everyone. So much love. And thanks again.